have a very weird idea this morning. So, when I was listening to the news, Caleb was reading about Gihok. And the workers say they don't want their manager anymore, their MD anymore. And then one of the managers said, no, it's only 30 workers and things. And then I asked Nathan to check the performance of Gihok. Basically, he has some documents. My main issue is that, we talk a lot about leadership, and we always talk about the president and the vice and the big political positions. But Sky, I feel like one of the reasons why Ghana is not doing well is that we don't produce good leaders. Let me put it this way. We don't have enough transformational leaders for public sector. Do you get it? So that, look, if you're a president and you appoint Kofi Juma as Gihok boss, there's so much you can do to make sure he runs the place well. If he's not been, and I'm not picking on him, if he's not been trained to lead and change an organization from maybe loss to profit, if he hasn't gotten the personal skills to reform, he can only do as much. Because what we was spoken about, how a lot of the spaces, the workers will sabotage you. There's a mentality in government agencies that is not progressive. So I think one of the things we need to discuss, I remember there was a day a foreign ambassador said something that Ghana lacks managerial talent. And there was an uproar. It was in the front page of the Finder also. This is like 4 years ago. He said, one of the things Ghana needs to work on is to grow good managers who can manage institutions. And people said, it's racist. Why is he saying that? But Sky, if I pressed you to name a transformational leader who had come to a state agency, whether it's Ghana Cylinder or Gihok or Cocoa Board, right, and has transformed the place, how many can you mention?
Well, the ones readily available would be the former Vice Chancellor of the UPSA, Professor Joshua Alabi, now the leader, his group has actually been disbanded by the former president, the campaign team head of former President John Dramani Mahama, for what he did at UPSA. And then also Professor Joshua Alabi, Professor Stephen Adai.
Stephen Adai.
Who transformed GIMPA from its pale shadows into a performing institution until recently. That it would seem that institution is now on a nosedive. Things are going south. I visited a campus recently.
No, let's take it one by one. So you're saying that if I pushed you to name a transformational leader that has changed a state institution from a bad position to a good position, you can name two.
At least two of them.
Nathan, can you name any?
That's quite tough.
Can you name transformational leader in the public sector who has come, and when the person left, you realize, no, the guy, he's changed the place.
Okay,
can you name two?
I will mention. I don't know what Intercity STC looks like, but there was a spell when they got a lot of great reviews.
Yeah.
And at that time, I think it was Nana Kumia who was in charge.
Yeah, I'm not talking about somebody who's doing well.
You mean like complete transformation? Okay, I mean, if
the guy
that's
came,
the case,
he saw, he reformed, he transformed.
If that is the case, then I'll go with Skies, because you see those two, because of the prominence they gained in the public space, you can see that those transformations are so tangible.
But even without like prominence, if you go to the institution, you can tell.
Oh yes,
that
I mean,
at least you knew the institution before they went.
Yes, I taught at UPSC for two academic years. If anybody told me, and a lot of people, some of the older colleagues said, look, Nathan, if you were here 20 years ago,
brother,
you wouldn't recognize this place.
UPSC
they say it was IPS. It was like this landmark for those who lived in the area.
No, let's say it in Citi English. The place was baller.
It was
the place be Charlie. There was the 1 2x4 story building with some dirty things, and then there were only some apata that they were learning under.
Now when you go there, it's so transformed. They have a hall everybody uses for one event or the other.
And you can trace it to one man.
You can point.
So you guys are saying that for transformational public sector leadership, we can only point to two.
Oh, I won't say you asked.
No, listeners, help me.
I mean, of
I
course, I'm sure
I want a transformational, because I'm talking about, you see, I always say this: a country is not transformed by having just one man do a lot of big things. It's also having a lot of good people doing good things in different spaces. And if you look at the number of state agencies, so if, for example, all SOEs were being run a certain way, there's no way the country will go down. Because when you take the state ownership report, a lot of our financial problems are sourced from there.
Yes.
Whether it's Cocoa Board or Gihawk or DV, I don't know what names, all these companies, that
All of
state agencies that are not doing well. Okay. So how come we are struggling beyond a day? And these guys are both historical figures in the sense that they are not longer running what they are running. A day
is running in school.
Yes, he's running, which is another interesting story. Because
really
now he's gone to, he's set up a secondary school, which is now one of the best.
Yeah, Christian High, right?
You get me? So maybe we should, and I'm not trying to diss leaders, but Godfrey, I was asking these two guys before you came in, can you give me two transformational public sector leaders? We are talking about Gihawk and their problems, right? And a lot of the state agencies are not doing well. Can you give me two? And this is world-class transformational leader, not Ghana rebranding. You know, some people go and do rebranding, and then they can't write newspaper stories that they've transformed a place when they haven't done anything. That's what we are talking about. We are talking about a place that we knew was run down. It's like I want which place in Ghana today is not doing well that we all know.
Oh,
I think
PWD.
Okay, so you take somebody to PWD.
Yeah, Papa Odovlo.
and then you put the person at PWD, and in 3 years, PWD is like some world-class institution. You know, I mean, I knew Gimpa because I went to school at Legon. Gimpa, we used to call it Green Hill.
Green Hill College.
We just used to go and play there. There was nothing going on there. UPSA there, because I'm a Medina boy, I know it was baller. There was a school there called Calvary, and I was in Presec, so you can walk to UPSA and go and buy rice and eat when you break bounce. If you want to break bounce through the through that corridor, you use the UPSA side. The school there was nothing going on there. Far as early as the Mobile struggle, when there was a pre-Mobile struggle where Rollins had some running battles with students. UPSA was seen like an extension of Legon, maybe some dormitory of Legon. There was nothing going on there. So if you say you're going to IPS, it's like we don't even understand business. So it wasn't such a big thing. All right. I was at UPSA for the incoming Chief Justice lecture. Okay, so when her lordship, is it her ladyship or her lordship? Her ladyship get to talk on who gave the talk. Charlie. So I went there to MC the program, and then when I finished, I met Professor Akola, and we were standing in the middle of the school. Charlie. And you know, we just look around. Everything was white and blue. So like all the buildings were white with blue windows.
Transformation.
I couldn't see rubbish on the floor.
Transformation.
There were trees.
Transformation.
And Akola said, Charlie, Aloski, look the place. And it's like this place, where we were standing, that was where the original dormitory, this baller place. It was like a thoroughfare for those leaving Medina to the bush. You know. So how come we don't have?
I'm trying to go through my list.
Yes.
Aloski.
Would you want
of
to
Ghanaian?
Would you want to give an honorable?
I'm saying public sector transformational leader.
Yes.
Whose work still speaks.
Yes.
For itself.
Yes. He doesn't need PR, he doesn't need interview. You know, everybody knows that this guy, he did it.
Yeah.
Public sector transformational leader.
The Kwesi Ajimambuzia.
Who that?
DVLA.
It's debatable.
Okay, no worries.
It's debatable.
No, it's fine. I'm just mentioning. I'm trying to, because I think if you look at where DVLA used to be and the significant improvement.
Okay, I'll let you defend yourself. So you are saying you name the people.
No, because you are talking about institutional transformations.
Usually after the person is left.
That is when he hasn't left.
Yes, so you see, for me, the ultimate.
But he doesn't talk a lot.
What I'm trying to say is that you test a leader
after the leader leaves.
You get it. When the person leaves, you realize that the thing he did is strong. So when Adair left, Franklin Menu or Franklin something took over. And Gimpa was still strong. I mean, Gimpa has come down a bit.
But with the DVLA...
No, it's not a bit. I think there's something happening.
You hold on.
That's
hold on for
probably,
me,
because I went there, you know, when I was a
you
student,
attended Gimpa.
Yes, I mean, there was so much life. I mean, around 5.
Yeah, but Adair left Gimpa over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that if you look at Gimpa pre-Adair, and then Gimpa posted there. Even though Gimpa is not what it used to be on that day.
Was there between 2000 and
What I'm saying is that
2008?
there's no doubt that the model Gimpa runs was created by Steve that day.
Yeah.
So you can say that he transformed Gimpa to what it is. If what is happening there now is not at the level that he was there, we can add that to the discussion.
Yeah.
But it's quite clear that in the period that he was there and the few years after he left, Gimpa really was not the same.
Then allow me to mention Kwesi Ajimambuzia then, because we know what has happened at DVLA. It's not a perfect institution, but there has been significant transformation in terms of its organizational processes, in terms of customer service. You can see certain things. And it's not like DVLA has a lot of room to do a lot of things. It's a very specific organization. It has to do a very specific function.
Yeah.
All right. So I go with that one. I would mention the Ghana Publishing guy.
Ghana Publishing.
Ghana Publishing Company.
He's been quiet, but I'm sure he's doing some.
Yes, Ghana Publishing Company. That's why I took my time a bit. Yeah. Ghana Publishing Company was dead. We can check from the state, the SOEs. Check for me how well Ghana Publishing Company did. We used to mention Anakumia. Do we still mention Anakumia?
So and now that you've brought DVLA and Ghana Publishing, then I think I have to allow Nathan's Nanakumia, because Nathan mentioned STC and Akumia.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I feel like these three levels you've mentioned, Ghana Publishing, STC and DVLA, I call them work in progress.
Yeah.
I call them work in progress because they are still there. And I feel when the person, I even add police headquarters, IGP. I can add Dampare to that category.
If you expand.
So these people are, these people are in a continuous tense.
Yes.
They are doing something good.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm
Then
actually,
maybe you
what
extend it to
hold on.
Just throw a bit more light on what Godfred was saying. If you, for example, if you look at the report and look at its financial and economic dimension, so what the Ministry of Finance did was to draw up this matrix where they would put 4 elements in the matrix and they weighted each one and measured all the SOEs. Now, on the economic and financial dimension, Ghana Publishing was in the top 5.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You understand? So I think kind of highlights a bit.
Wonderful. What other dimension was there?
So if you look at so
there's economic and financial dimension as well.
I will. So they are, yes. So they looked at the economics of it and the profitability. So there were 4 things really. There were financial and economic, where they looked at using the loan score indicator of profitability change.
All right.
Then you had the efficiency and productivity. Then you had the dynamic effect. Now the dynamic effect had to do with results, impact, development, submission, implementation of staff training, those things. Then you had the management improving / projects, where that measured the specified entities compliance with meeting key reporting requirements as stated in the PFM Act.
Wow.
So those were the 4 things that they put in the matrix.
That matrix. Okay. So whilst I'm very careful to I'm very careful to give too much praise to those who are currently running things, because saboteurs are also listening, and they can decide that because the Citi boys are saying that this guy is doing work. Let's go and audit him. Charlie, and they can even from his own party and go and finish him. So I prefer
those who have left.
Yes, because then we can study it in its full length. They said it's when a snake dies that we see its full size.
Then
so I feel like yes.
Then I'm going with just 2.
Yes, the people you've mentioned are good, but let's spare them. Let's spare them the agony of premature praise whilst the project is not over. Okay, and let's just go to historical. So from 1980 to today, institutions that have been properly transformed in a way that we all see that, Charlie, this guy, he's a good leader.
Yeah.
All right? He's a good leader. Because
does that include the public universities, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So he came, I wanted to add IET, but because I didn't, I'm a bit iffy. I'm a bit iffy. But when I talk to people who were in Legon around IET, I think the guy is great. Like we talk about his collegiate system, like opened up the university. You can see that the university is thriving. So the university is bigger. You are seeing more leaders. So like if you go to, when I used to go department of, say we are not a department, we are a school now. We are this. Like you can feel that was a major decision he took to open up the university to more investment. But because of the controversies around what's the name of this deal?
African Integrass.
Yeah, so I feel like I don't want to, but I think a third could be.
Yeah, but the truth is that all of these people we've mentioned
have controversies.
No. I know. But I see. I'm saying that Legon was not a dead place where IT went. Do you understand? Yes. So Legon is a bit not the same. So IT did well. He moved Legon to the next level. But it's not like what Ade met at Gimpa was a mess. There was like nothing.
What Alabi inherited was non-existent.
So this is like from P to P. Just from P to P. I think when I need to compare the two models because some people
mean the Gimpa model and
because,
the UPSA model?
Because Sky's argument is that Gimpa is not what it is.
Yeah.
So is it that there was a flaw in Ade's model or the system that was there, he couldn't choose his successor and therefore there's a limit to what he can do? But even with that, can you say Gimpa hasn't really unraveled? It's just not lived up to what we expect.
I think the intervening leaders, with the greatest respect to them and what they did, I mean, they must have contributed their own quota to building that institution. But it would seem that they did not catch it the way, Professor Ade did. And that's why when you see the institution today, when you go there today,
it's almost like a shift in about, there's always a sexy private university that people want. It used to be Gimpa for many years. I think UPSA has stolen
a lot of that.
Like if you look at, if you want to do, like you're in Accra, you're busy, you want to do a business program.
Yeah,
and you can't do Legon because of the proximity to town. In the past, we're doing Gimpa. I think that thing is no longer there. I think it's shifted.
Yeah.
It's shifted. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
It's Bernard. Look, you should go there. You should drive there in the afternoon.
So listeners are sending some honorable mentions. So Nana Damwa says he would put Kwesi Andam of KNUST.
Yes, I've also had Kwesi.
Okay, and then he also says he will add Kojo Bonsu at Goel.
Which Kojo Bonsu?
Your Kojo Bonsu.
This is Kojo Bonsu.
Yes.
Hey, okay.
But that was more
at Goel. I don't know. You need to Nana, you need to elaborate what Goel, because I don't know what Goel used to be.
And where he took it and where it is now.
Yeah, and I don't know whether the changing. But okay, we all know that there was a new face of Goel.
Rebranding.
Yes, but no, it wasn't just rebranding. You notice that the Goel stations were not doing well. So I'm not sure I can place my finger on what changed. Like now when you are going
they can give us more details.
Like 20 years ago, when you are driving to buy fuel, Total and Shell were definitely on a different level than Goel. Goel was some way. Yeah. But for some time now, Goel was rubbing shoulders. Like Goel looks
it was our brother from the village.
So I don't think it's fair to say it's just rebranding. But I don't know whether it was Kojo Bonsu alone. I don't know what it is.
Have to know.
Then the current CEO also deserves some credit.
So that's why I see. That's what I'm saying.
But let's narrow
the thing down. Let's narrow the thing. Otherwise, people are calling their friends.
That's my problem.
You see?
We can do two historical test cases, and determine.
Yeah, but I think the Andam and the IT need further discourse because a lot of the tech people are telling me that, like Andam, he was so far ahead of his time, and they said he would sort of like he introduced some courses that they had to do even as non-science students. He had so much vision in terms of even the land and how to develop the school. Like there are a lot of people say Andam. So a lot of what is happening at tech today, they trace it to Andam. Right? I don't have that information. Maybe when the tech people can talk about it. IT as well. I think it's a close third to those two guys because Legon wasn't doing that badly. Legon was not a basket case. Legon has had strong leaders. Akil Akpasoya, Adai Mensah, Asensuachi. So Legon is not been on its knees. So you can say that there was an inflection point when he came, when he did the, the collegiate system. But it's not in the same category as somebody who was to a bush like UPSA. Okay. And in 10 years' time,
but I think the Legon one becomes a bit difficult to do in the sense that every vice chancellor focused on a certain facet. So, I find it interesting you mentioned Asensuachi because Legon was a bit of a dump at a certain point. Sure? Oh, yes. I mean, it's always been well maintained, but Asensuachi took particular interest in how the school looked.
The problem with Asensuachi though was the scandals.
Yeah, there's that.
So I'm a Legon boy, so I don't want to. Legon, when you
don't want to enter the
because
space.
You see, I'm emotionally attached to the university. So anything I say,
both of us are emotionally attached to the university.
Let's leave Legon out.
We spent how many years did you spend there?
I was born in Legon.
Legon.
I went to university primary school. I went to Presec Legon.
Yes.
I was in Legon. I was the hall secretary.
I spent 7 years there.
And I went. So my whole life was in Legon. Okay, Okay, so let's
leave
Legon out because of our emotional connection. Yeah, because we are too close to the situation. But so far, I still think we can't. I can't find anybody at least from 1995 to 2023.
Public sector.
Adair and Alabi are on a different level.
Yeah.
I think there's no doubt about it. We'll try and study their model when we come back. What can we learn from those two guys? What can we learn from those two models? And how can we apply that to places like Gihok, Cocoa Board?
Ghana cylinder
and we must not allow Gimpa to die.
I know you want to deal with that issue, but let's do tech and social media trends. What I wanted to do was two things. I wanted to, in order not to throw the confusion around the discussion, let's separate the thing. There are a lot of good leaders, right? For people are mentioning Frimpong Boateng, Emil Short, Afarijan. These are foundational leaders. They set up. They were when we started the Fourth Republic. There were some things they came to start that nobody else could do. So Siraj, you can say it was the Siraj we know today is Emil Short. The EC, yes, there was an INEC guy before Afarijan came, but the EC we know today is really Afarijan. But I don't want to bring that into the discussion because we are talking about transformation. You came to see something that wasn't doing well. And in the 10 or 6 or 8 years that you were in charge of the thing changed. So in terms of foundational, you can even add Professor Frimpong Boateng for Cardiothoracic Center. He set it up, right? Rollins brought him from Germany. He built the thing from scratch, and the thing has done well. So we will give them their due. And then there are leaders who are doing well today. You mentioned STC, DVLA, even ECG, Adam Parry. I mean, I was with somebody and when we go to the police, I said, Charlie, Dampario. And I said, why, Charlie? And even when you look at the police head office, even the way, when I'm driving to work, I see the police walking to work. Right?
Some confidence in
the way they've even dressed and the way they work. You can tell that there's a new leader there. Right? We are not saying we agree with everything he does. But when you see the posture of the police, even the confidence that they have, it tells you that they have a leader who inspires them. But I call this going concerns because the Ghana we are in, if you start praising people too much, before you know, people will start doing that. So let them finish.
You find
let them finish, and then because Ghana people, Charlie, we got Henry Cote. Henry Cote was my guy So what I wanted to do was, let's do it this way. Let's just look at Adair as a case study, and Alabi as a case study, and I'm talking public sector leadership as well because there are a lot of good private sector leaders, but because the conversation was triggered by Gihok, I want us to stay with public sector. All right. When you interviewed the two men, what were the similarities and the differences? What struck you as you interviewed the two men? And you threw this leadership question in the middle of the interview.
I think they had a lot more in common than not. And what the striking resemblance, if you like, was that they both bore a solid picture of the desired future state of the institutions that they were handling. They had a picture of what they wanted it to look like. And that was the overarching motivation. There were flaws in the process, I must say, but that's not what we are discussing. We are talking about the legacy, what they have standing today, and how it was transformed from close to nothing to something substantial. So they had vision, and they had strong motivation. They both were not reporting to a minister.
Oh, really? So that's key, eh?
Of course.
So they had a bit of autonomy.
Of course, university.
The free hand.
I think it didn't occur to me.
They were not reporting to a minister sitting somewhere who would dictate to you how you should run.
So they had a bit of free hand. The system gave them...
I'll say independence. Free hand, I'm not so sure, but independence. Because they had some difficulties as well. In fact, with UPSA, I also taught there for a while. Even the charter challenge, because they were at KN University for a long time and all that. So there are
legal ramifications. I'm even told that they also had to do some legislative changes to allow him to do what he was able to do.
Yes. He had backlash from people, the court issues.
Stories.
Yeah, It wasn't such a smooth ride for either of them. But the thing is,
so the similarities for you are one,
vision.
Both of them knew what they wanted. It was very clear they had a picture. Even though the people working with them may not have seen it, they knew what they wanted.
Alabi, I can say 200%.
Because you were
very close to him.
He knew what he wanted to get.
And you see, Alabi had a way of infecting you with what he wanted to do with UPSA.
He will infect you with it?
Yes.
Like a virus?
Yes. And that's leadership.
So how did the staff working with him respond to that? Well, because some leaders are not liked. I know some professors around are there who say, Charlie, this guy...
Well, in our cultural setup, anybody that brings fundamentally changes that transform the structures, you run the risk of not being liked. But thing is, leadership is not about being liked.
No, popularity
it's about
contest.
Changing things. And at the end of the day, no leader has been applauded for being liked.
I also had to bring that question between bringing people along versus being liked, and the distinction you gave with Alabi on the infection.
Yeah.
Because there's also a view that, so yes, it's not a popularity contest, but should it always be my way or the highway? When like the team, because all these two men, I'm sure they had a team that they were using to work. So how do you draw the line between driving your agenda, whether it's not favorable or not, and yet still making sure that your managers and your...
But the agenda, who determines whether agenda is favorable? That's another question. I mean, the fact that somebody is being inconvenienced in the process is not the same as the thing not being a favorable agenda. Because people love their space.
Okay.
They just want to, the inertia is let's remain where we are because this is how it's always been. We're a small university. We're a small professional institution. Why do you want to do this? And you have all this.
Let me pause you. I want to come to these two guys and ask a question. I noticed that you are emotionally connected to Gimpa. So, like me and Godfrey to Legon, we don't want to debate Legon. But you seem to feel like Gimpa has gone down.
Yeah.
Can you develop that point? And can we link it to, and I'll come back to you on this, can we link that to the leader's job? In the sense that if the thing he built was so sustainable, how come, I'll say many years after he's left, it's gone down?
Yeah.
Was that a flaw in his approach, or this is, and so just let's hear from you first.
Okay.
And I'll come to this man. So yeah.
When I was admitted to do economics at GINPA, I went there and it was obvious what Professor Ade, the institution that he had set up, and which had been inherited by a number of people ever since. You could see it in the approach that lecturers use in teaching.
Okay.
So it wasn't the case before that the lecturers were properly audited. So they will bring you a form, you fill it, as to whether you are happy with the approach that a particular lecturer is using.
It means the lecturers were being seriously
they were
assessed.
auditing them. There was an assessment. The students were making inputs as to whether a particular lecturer was good for a particular topic.
Good.
And then also in terms of the infrastructure that you see around the school. Years down the line, we saw a former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria coming down, Goodluck Jonathan.
Oh, he came to Gimpa?
Yeah, that's right. We're told he's a former student of some kind or has some association with the school and pledged to invest some money in building a library and all of that. So the infrastructure was solid because previously the infrastructure was in a decrepit state. But under Professor Ade, they were able to transform the school as to attract some of the finest people doing great things.
When you were there, who was the VC?
I've forgotten his name.
Is it Franklin Menu?
Yeah, that's what Professor Menu. Yeah, it was Menu who later took over
from.
Yeah, that's right. So immediately after his exit, although the thing did not decline immediately, it took some time to decline.
Decline takes time.
Yeah, but you see that during the effective years of his leadership and the immediate years after he had left, student population was huge.
Yeah, everybody was going to.
Exactly. the Gimpa Law School was the in thing. It was like the status symbol for people who wanted to do law. People were going there to do law. The area of economics, statistics, hospitality, management, and what do you call it? Public sector. Well, of course, I wanted to do that. Public, they call it something. Public sector. What's the name? We haven't forgotten leadership and public sector.
Public administration.
Public administration. Yes, public administration. And then they also had a center for training of leaders.
Yeah. Okay.
Vibrant with Professor the Ahoy brothers.
Kwame Ahoy. Oh, he was also a Gimpa.
Yes, all these fine.
So he was able to attract the heavyweights.
Exactly. And these were people in their prime.
Yeah.
Doing so well in the area of teaching, transformation, people who had been recruited from outside the country, younger people who were hungry for success. And you could see that in the student population. The kinds of records that were being produced by the students who were attending, and the number of people who saw that, look, I needed fresh training in a particular field.
Fine. So what are you saying? You are saying right now it's not like that.
Charlie, Bernard. So 2 years ago, when I came back, I went there to visit a friend of mine.
Charlie.
I noticed that the life that was at Gimpa, the fire died.
The glory had departed.
But you see, I immediately thought that maybe it was because of COVID.
Yeah,
so I granted that and said, okay, maybe
come back.
now they are doing online school and all of that. Bernard, less than 2 weeks ago, I went to Gimpa.
Charlie, you wanted to cry?
Charlie, I wanted to cry.
Oh.
Between the hours of, say, 1 and 6:30 p.m., thereabout, there was always life.
Yeah, that's where the workers have come.
Exactly.
The school is picking up.
Vibrant, like
market.
Like the car parked full.
Yeah.
You don't find space to park your vehicle.
People are here to study.
Exactly. You go to the library, people are busy doing stuff. You walk through the lecture hall, things are happening. The law school students are properly dressed, looking nice, going to do their law.
Charlie.
But I went there, it was Koya.
A pale shadow.
Pale shadow of its former self. And I was asking, so I called up a number of my friends who still work in the system. And Charlie, the kinds of stories that they are telling about how the thing has been allowed to get so bad, infrastructure is decimated. Look, I went to some of the washrooms. These are not washrooms.
And I always use the washroom as a test of leadership for a big institution. When you go to at least a UPSA washroom, it's still okay. Yeah. It's when you go, because some washroom, when you enter, you just come out. Yeah. And when the system is working, the leadership is felt because it's a moment of truth. So if you get to a washroom in a random university and the place is clean, it tells you that the guy at the top is doing something right. So I'll come back to you on the point of what that means for Ade. But I just want to comment quickly,
on the hostels. The executive hostel was the ish thing for many people who wanted to do conferences, train their managers and all, like this boot camp thing you want to do.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, people will go there and do the training sessions there.
Yeah.
Look, you go to even the executive hostels.
Oh.
They are not looking the way Egbelen. And the ordinary hostels that students use. We
have to call Lawyer Akapam to address some of these matters.
Yeah, they are doing some renovation.
Yeah, so can we say that the fact that the man has left the place and the place has gone down is a flaw in his
model? No, I think you have to look at some the different sectors. Now, if we take an educational institution, there isn't a significant control on succession by the departing person. Maybe the person might have groomed somebody and might recommend, but it is still at the behest of a different group of people who have to decide that, okay, this is the person. So in those instances, my thinking is the succession has not been perhaps the best.
So succession is not in his control. Okay, let me.
They have not been lucky.
Are we saying that game? Funny, yesterday I was watching CNR,
yeah.
In the last 10 minutes, Professor Oko went to Presec, of all places, to donate desks.
Okay.
It's funny, when we were in Presec, UPSA was like, what is this? Now, right now, we are so overcrowded that the VC, is coming to give us desk, and headmaster is thanking him, and we are like, you know what I'm saying? So it's almost like the new VC, the place is still thriving, and they even have enough to come and donate to their small boys.
But if you look at Oko took over from Alabi.
Yeah.
It's not normal that you would have back-to-back two very impactful progressive leaders. So if you look at tech, everybody was talking about Andam. But then Andam did what he did. And then there's
Professor Obridanso.
Obridanso. Now,
so it was continuity,
within,
two good leaders.
Within, let's say, that would be like within a 15-year period.
Yes, within a 10-year period.
Within a 10-year period, you have these two individuals working.
But didn't Ellis Otu come before?
Yeah.
So there was Andam, Ellis Otu, and then Obridanso. Okay.
So you see the chain in there. So if you are lucky enough to get, and I must say luck because, like I said, the appointment is not really something that you can determine. It's not like Obridanso is leaving and says, hey, you come. This is my guy. He can continue my legacy. He understands my thinking. He understands the passion. He understands my plan and wants to continue it. Okay. So I think that will account for some of what we have seen. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Because, for instance, when we had a great headmaster, for instance, at Prempeh College, Saddam. Saddam was transformational for us.
With a name like Saddam?
Yes. He came with the name.
Okay.
Mr. There's also Sechre.
Saddam.
Yes, we called him Saddam.
Solid.
Because he wanted to bring back something. Yeah. Okay. But once he left, he does not choose his successor. He did his job. Yeah. But the person who came was so bad that within 2 or 3 years, the old boys said, hey, get out. Come on, get out. You see. You understand?
But I think you've nailed something that I want to bring into a discussion, though, which is the issue of selection versus appointment, right? Because what we are saying is that Gimpa Je, but because Ade does not have control over who takes over from him, it will be a stretch to blame his model for the decline of Gimpa. But we are also saying that in the case of Alabi, he had an influence in who took over from him, and therefore some continuity, because I think when you were there, Oko was one of the...
Oko was one of Alabi's boys.
Yeah, so the point is that he already knew the model. So Oko wasn't coming with his own agenda necessarily.
He used Alabi's script, but he also expanded it with speed. I mean, there's somebody who...
But he was Alabi's choice.
Well,
I'm trying to push that point.
I can't say that for a fact, because I don't know the mechanics of it. But I know that while we were there, Oko was one of Alabi's favorites. I mean, no
that's
secret
enough for
about
me.
that. Yeah.
Now, I want you to address a point. So, Ade comes to Gimpa, manages to push some reform through. He doesn't answer to a minister. But there are some things he can't change because whoever takes over from him is not his decision. He can't bring one of his boys, quote unquote, to run the place. Alabi too comes. Alabi too is able to get some concession from the government so that he can charge reasonable fees. Right? So there are negotiation upwards to make sure that the system allows them to do the change. It's very important. So the fees Alabi was charging at the time that he was a VC, a lot of the public investors were not charging that. And you could see the use of the money because you can see the physical infrastructure. So my question is that for public institutions, can we not say that the Alabi model is more effective in the sense that if you leave the succession to chance of political administration or some political process, continuity will suffer because we are trying to build success that lasts. But if you find a way of getting a leader who may even be appointed, not necessarily even voted for, but understands the task ahead. So in pushing a case study for public sector reform, UPSA probably is the most perfect we have now. Maybe Gimpa being a close second, based on all we know.
But does UPSA still have that wiggle room it had from the onset to still function? Because
they do.
I mean, if that's
their fees are still higher, small.
Great. So if that's the case, it still allows them. That wiggle room is great. It's a good space with which they can maneuver and attempt things that are slightly out of the box, and they can do a lot of quasi-independent thinking, right? So I say that because if you look at Gimpa's case, they seem to have gone in a different direction. So maybe they may also need to require a bit of that wiggle room to try a bit of some independent thought.
Yeah, Nathan, you see, I'm not sure if we have to have a prospectus of what they should get, who should go. I think it's a basic function of strong leadership.
Okay.
It's just a function of leadership. leadership. Godfred mentioned DVLA. And DVLA today is a perfect example of what used to be
versus what is.
Versus what is now.
DVLA used to be.
Charlie, somewhere they say go
It's
to
not a perfect institution.
But they are so.
We are not even talking about perfect because there will be flaws. Because you are working with human beings. Some of them you came to meet them with entrenched habits already. Look, you go to some of these state institutions. Coming to work at 9 a.m. will make you feel bad at times.
Yeah.
Especially when it rains. And you come to work at 8:30, they'll ask you whether everything is okay with you. Some of them. So I'm saying that they have some entrenched wrong cultures. So if you come in and you're able to change from zero to something, something should be applauded. This is what we are saying. Cape Coast University is another one that we haven't mentioned. UCC today is one of the most effective organizational reference points that we can talk about.
Celebrated globally too.
Yeah.
But how come we are not tracing to one name? So could it be that they have had a series of good leaders so that it's not even one individual?
It's possible that they have, over the years, built structures.
Yeah.
They have built structures.
So whoever the leader is
knows
has to continue.
Take the script.
Yes.
Maybe that's actually a good
yes.
Because
look, no, I want you to develop that point. Because UCC has been rising in the rankings.
Yes.
And they have been expanding infrastructure a lot, but you don't really get anybody saying I am the strong man or strong woman.
What I think UCC has done is they've taken an Andam and taken an Obri down, so enjoying together.
Sorry, who are those two people? What have they done?
Professor Andam expanded the content of the university.
Away from the narrow focus on just science.
Mostly.
Okay.
People criticize too.
But he made the university more financially viable.
He brought up life back into the university.
On the content side.
On the content side.
And then what did Obri Danso do?
Obri Danso came to expand the infrastructural footprint of the university.
So he built buildings.
He expanded the school more than any single vice chancellor has ever done or even attempted to do.
And his reward was that they chased him out.
But that is,
remember that one?
Yes,
that's the point I'm making, that you
that
meet all
effective leadership is not a popular thing necessarily in our culture. Because if people have come and gone and they didn't do half of what you've done, know that doing it this way, you are going to step on people's foot. You understand? This is how.
So come back to UCC. So you're saying that UCC took increased content, increased infrastructure together. Yes. And yet we don't even have the name of a person to refer that to. Because probably don't know them. But the point is that you can see, if you take UCC in 1995 and you take UCC in 2023, you can obviously tell that this is an institution that has been transformed. Yet you can't trace it to one person.
Well, maybe those who are part of the conversation will know. But you see, I connect with UCC on several platforms. I didn't go there to UCC. But look, if you look at even their day-to-day activities today, you wonder why the other universities are not doing some of these things.
That means you are studying the guy.
There are seminars that they organize. Look.
Just copy.
You know when I started, I listened to the current statistical service director give a lecture at UCC. Charlie, the thing was streaming live, and the kind of things he was talking about, and the kind of research they were discussing. Godfred, be serious. And of course, the GSS boss is also a solid guy on his
Which
own.
Which is
right.
interesting, based on because if you look at the kind of public official that he has become, the national statistician.
I tell you.
And where he is, it's interesting.
I actually think that the statistical service has also been transformed in a way because, Godfred, even the usability of the statistics.
Yes,
look,
changed.
We've done this work for 20 years. Sky, there was no time that when they announce any of these things,
you'd mind them.
They will send you infographics.
Previously, it was food basket.
A lady will call you the day before and say, "We are coming to release some data. Please, if you have any need for interview, let us know." Right? Without fail. And when the data comes, she will send you all the graphs and things and so the man is available for interview. You can call this guy. So I think that, you see, when sometimes we need to use that platform, let people know that there are things that are happening which are good, which you have to model. Okay. But I feel like there are a couple of problems here. The political system that we foisted on ourselves does not is not amenable to transformational leadership except by accident. Because the choice of the leader is based on a flawed system. All right. So yesterday.
Repeat that one. Repeat.
Yes, I'm saying that the political system that sits on top of all of this is not amenable to transformational leadership because the system of choosing a leader is flawed. Yesterday, a friend of mine sent me a message. And let me just read the message to you. She was so upset. She says, Bernard, I hope all is well with you.
Yes.
There's this thing that baffles me that I wonder if it can change. Why do delegates take money before voting for somebody to lead them? I don't understand this. Then she makes, it's like 3 pages. It's like a long thing. Some of them I can't put on air. She was making specific references to the fact that in Ketu North, she said somebody give them 1,000, whatever. And he says that these people don't have work. And they don't have work. They said the people who were giving the money, they don't have work to do. And she thinks that if even all those monies were put together to set up a company that they should employ them, it's more sustainable.
But who told you they want to work?
That's my point. But let's not defeat the point. The point she's making is that if somebody gives you 1,500 CDs to vote for somebody to become your MP, right? How many times will you be then give you 1,500? So I'm using this to say that the choice of, and then we are selecting our leaders. NDC has done, MPP will do. Inevitably, it's about how much money you have. If you don't have, it's not everybody who is rich who will win. But generally, the more money you have, the more you're likely to win. Now, you cannot choose a transformational leader from a system that is based on money that you don't know where it's coming from. So you appoint Adai, you appoint Alabi. Alabi didn't bribe somebody to take the work, right? And so Alabi can do the job and change. So now this system we've created at the political base creates MPs, and it cascades all the way to the top. Mm-hmm. So it seems to me that the big question for Ghana is how, if you want a transformational leader, then you must look at the system of selection. Mm-hmm. And then when you put the person there as well, what structure do you allow the person to create? Okay. Mm-hmm. And I feel that's why we are suffering, because if you have great leaders in public sector, even today, you can mention DVLA, you can mention statistical service. Mm-hmm. How come at the highest level transformation is so difficult?
See, so let me just speak to the matter with Gimpa and mm-hmm. Professor Day. Mm-hmm. You know, under his leadership, the mm-hmm. things he prioritized were mm-hmm. what? Monitoring, mm-hmm. evaluation, mm-hmm. discipline, and investment.
Hey, you have all this in your head?
Yeah.
Monitoring, evaluation, discipline, and investment.
You know, when you make an investment, you have to monitor and ensure
MEDI.
That exactly
monitoring, evaluation,
it is achieving the right purpose.
Charlie, the guy before.
You know, and when you do that over time properly, mm-hmm. you will realize that you are making investments in either the right places or the wrong places. And where there is the need for you to fine-tune the system as to return the right results, you fine-tune it. And he was heavy on these areas.
Making sure things before you went to Gimpa, or you learned it there?
Oh no! At the time,
monitoring, evaluation, discipline, investment.
I didn't know that.
Serious thing, power.
You see, but at the time, I couldn't understand it from that viewpoint. Yeah. You looked at it from outside. Hey, they say some new guy has come to Gimpa. Charlie, he's doing great things. That's the new school everybody wants to go to. Yeah. Everybody who wants to do masters, get a degree. Everybody was going there. Gimpa. And then when you went there, discipline was key.
What do you mean by discipline?
As in, you lecturer, don't come to work and come and teach the students. If you go and sleep at home and say that, he would deal.
There was consequence.
And that was one of the problems that
so there was a fear factor.
Exactly. He would go around sometimes himself to monitor what was happening. What quality of teaching was being dished out to students.
So you can come and sit in the lecture?
Yeah, that's right. And observe what's going on. He wouldn't even announce that he was coming.
Hey!
You'll be there in the lecture hall. Professor, Stephen Ade will show up.
Hey!
And of course, as is usual with many Ghanaian institutions, people started to undermine him. And that he's being like an autocrat, he's being this and that and that. But that was because he was bringing about a certain culture of discipline. Now, my argument is that if this playbook had been taken just like that, mm-hmm. improved in whatever way to suit the times, and enforced throughout, wouldn't get... Because the key distinction...
When you listen to Ade Alabi, he said in the Sabens interview that he actually was watching Ade mm-hmm. and he was admiring him from afar. So I think you can even say that Alabi took the Ade playbook mm-hmm. and smoothing the rough edges.
And you see, and the key distinction here is, whereas Gimpa is not subvented government institution, mm-hmm. so when Ade took over, he realized that, look, this was a dead institution. Mm-hmm. Let's prize the fees in a way.
That to make it sustainable.
Exactly. So it was a fee-paying institution.
Yeah.
Government was not putting anything inside. So he used money that he was...
So IGF.
Exactly. To actually transform the institution. You notice that APSA, on the other hand, seems to still enjoy some...
UPSA.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
UPSA.
We call it APSA.
APSA. And UPSA.
Yeah. Forgive us. So they would seem to still have some subventions.
But they also raised their school fees.
Me.
Yeah, but they also amended their fees small.
So you see the distinction.
That came with a lot of resistance.
Internally or externally?
Externally, of course.
People didn't agree to the school.
Of course.
So you see the distinction. Whereas Adai used internally generated funds entirely to transform that institution, AFSA still retains some support from the government.
So that's another difference
exactly.
in the model.
So for instance, if the people who took over were so
in terms
minded,
of the government was giving them money.
No.
They don't get
No, they were not being given anything.
Till today, they were not given.
I don't know about today.
Guys,
I don't know about
one of the things that fascinates me about UPSA is the speed of infrastructure development.
Yeah, great.
There's a big hall when you enter the investing on your left that they are building. They've built like 2 or 3 hostels. How do they get the money? Because it's serious.
Students go there,
but don't Gimpa collect school fees.
Now students are not even going to the place. You see, let me tell you something. When
that's dangerous. Because I just got a message that says that Charlie Gihok workers, they make Gimpa chop stray bullets.
All right, listeners, I'm going to read some of your comments. What we are doing this morning is to use the Gihok situation to talk and think about transformational leadership. And I think we made a few fundamental points that UPSA and Alabi and Gimpa and Adai are 2 very useful models. There are some lessons there. We're also trying to pick out public sector leaders who are, and let me not make it seem as if every institution needs transformation. Some need reform. Reform is a lower level.
Yes.
All right. Some just need continuity.
Yeah.
All right. And we are not making it as if these are the only people. I know a lot of people are saying that GOIL has been transformed, although they are saying that it's a merger of the board chairman at the time and then Akoli, the MD. So it's more like Kojo Bonsu and Akoli together.
Yeah.
Which is a good story.
So if I'm wrong,
we don't have a lot of that these days. They're always fighting.
So if I'm wrong, in the board, so I'm saying that if you are in the GOIL system, what's the name of the guy? Robert. So let me know. Give me a feel on the GOIL. I want to understand the GOIL.
And then
GOIL is important because I'm saying that 20 years ago, when you drive to GOIL, it was a mess.
It's a brother from the village.
But now, but now GOIL they rub shoulder. You know, so now I just wanted to.
They are even in the upstream system.
Yes. Again, we can do a general leadership discussion and bring private sector leaders as well. And I know you have somebody you want to mention.
But before you get there,
so
I wanted to say something.
Yes, say it.
Say it. Your point on the political system and selection of leaders. Because the same political system is able to select some very good people to lead some of these public institutions.
Yeah. Like Henry Kote.
Yes, but if
then
you
the
go,
same system
like, I'm even going with the
and do the same system
I'm not for friends say who hear some
to wring you dry. You know?
I recently no. But you know, Samuels, the Henry Kote one, it breaks my heart.
10 Henry Kotes.
Charlie, Henry Kote will they pay me, Charlie?
If we had
Henry
Kotes at the political leadership level in this country.
But the point I'm making is, you know, but the point I'm making is because you look at
the political system,
for consideration,
we have the men.
Exactly, but the question I'm asking, so how come I think sometimes it borders on a measurement of favored entity, sort of. They prioritize. So certain categories of entities get certain categories of people. And then if you are smart enough to see, you realize that certain categories are used to fill up jobs that we must reward people with.
Oh my God.
So you end up with
square pegs in round holes.
People
are now learning the work.
Because if you look at the CVs and backgrounds of those who run those that we can put in tier A SOEs. They would have run multinationals before. Really? They would have come from all kinds of international backgrounds. They know their work.
So they don't come to the job to learn. They don't come to
the job to learn. Okay. Some go well, some don't go well.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Because for me, the fact that you work with a multinational doesn't mean anything.
Oh yes, but it's a good
my point is
no.
I understand.
No. But Alabi had a track record.
He had a track record.
Yeah, that's he had a track record. Multinational.
Yes.
I just said multinational.
But you work with a multinational.
That's why you should believe me.
No, but go on.
And I think the selection of the leadership at that point also comes down to simply the point of being, this way you the far her. Without actually giving much thought to
dummy.
Without giving much thought to
what we can get out of this. No, they can even say, Sky, what do you want? No, they say, this is Sky. You work, what do you want? This guy will say,
let's reward you.
No, Sky will say, me, I like Cocoa Bud. It's like we are going to problem. I like Cocoa Bud.
We hand out the
until they fix that as well.
But let me ask
you
a question.
To see the
let me ask
SOEs improve.
Samuel, is it that difficult to say we won an election? We all worked.
Sure.
Everybody contributed. But now we have a government to run.
Sure.
So we are going to now start a process where we will get people who can actually do the work.
Okay.
Can that not ever happen?
That's what should happen. You see, what I'm saying is that if you become, you take leadership position at that level, the reward, the elements of reward should not include appointment to state enterprises.
It should not be a reward. It should never be a reward.
Appointment to state enterprise
cannot be a reward.
Can never be a reward.
Because it's a task
unless
to be
in
done.
your mind you admit that they have to go and pillage and steal things from there.
Yeah. So you can't. So you are saying you can't conceive how running an important institution becomes a reward.
A reward for what? How do you reward somebody with an appointment to manage state resources?
Unfortunately, that's what it is.
No, that's
you
a
see,
serious point.
this point, if we don't crack it as a country, nothing will change. If you want to reward the person, ask the person, first of all, what do you do? He says that I'm a trader. Can we help you to expand whatever?
So you go back and trade.
Can we, he says, I want to go back to school. Can we get scholarship for you? That is help. That is help. But you don't appoint somebody clueless to come and superintend over a state enterprise that is failing, and then
you help it
4
to
years
fail
down
more.
the line, the team fails and you feign surprise. You are surprised. It starts from the simple decision to appoint somebody who is ill qualified.
But I want to ask you a question. Is it that they underestimate the task or they don't? Because you see, sometimes running an institution, as you know, is one of the most difficult things in the world. I would say you can be given a job. I can be appointed to work as Pepsi vice president as an appointment. It's not the same as running a mattress shop in Kumasi that I own. So running things is one of the most difficult things in the world. So a lot of times people underestimate the importance of running something. So the fact that somebody can conceive it as a reward is possibly because they underestimate what it means.
Because it is what it is, and it's the way we have done it since for a long time now. Look, let me give you a practical example. When Professor Mills won the elections, a lot of things happened. There was so much uncertainty, anger in the air. And somehow the NDC managed to insist that, look, we won this election and we are taking it. They went to take him back. There was a short time between the declaration of the results and then the intended installation of the president. And when he had been announced, so much pressure, people were moving, Charlie, you see people around him and all of that. The Accra International Conference Center was the place where he was operating for the first few days. Look, anytime we went there in the morning, people with CVs upon CVs.
So like a marketplace.
Party card upon party card. There were those who had different party, like some had party card for this party and party card for that party, because you don't have a way of ascertaining it.
So they went there to look for posts.
To submit their CVs. And
But they request that people should bring their CVs.
But here's the thing. Then there were people from within, and when this happens in NDC MPP, who are favorites of certain people,
so
they will steal
and put your hand there.
And tear it.
They'll tear your CV.
So when they are looking at the thing, they say, CV, no, your friend, or they will call you and say, but your CV, we have not seen your CV here. Where's your CV?
I said, I submitted it.
Giddy. Then somebody is struggling and coming back with a CV. By the time you realize that CV has gone missing.
So the whole thing is a marketplace.
And some of the people who come are genuinely intending or were genuinely intending to serve this country.
Yeah.
These were people who thought they were leaving greater things they were doing elsewhere to come and help. But the system as it was, and it happened in NDC, NPP, and is the way.
So let me
that
ask one last question. Let me ask one last question. And then if somebody became president and wanted to use the Ade model or the Alabi model to govern, would the person get support from his people?
The person should be prepared in the first place to be a change agent. A change agent, you don't stay forever. You should be prepared to accept to be a one-term president.
Yes, that's it.
As in, his own people will make sure he loses.
Sure.
Or the
Because some of the tough decisions
I want you to develop the point.
I'm talking about.
I'm saying that
in you,
your mind.
In your mind, don't worry if you are not retained. That's all.
So don't think about election.
Yes.
To be an effective.
Oh yes.
An effective Ade or Alabi.
Yes, because
you shouldn't be thinking about election.
There are seriously entrenched institutions that make up this country that you need a bulldozer to turn around. Because the enmity that you inherit, you can't live your free life after.
Wow.
That's the truth.
This is the Ghana that we have.
So for like Thor. Yeah. So if you give somebody Thor as a reward, it's a sin.
Have you realized it's a reward a lot of people are avoiding?
See, we all sit here and run commentary on places like Thor and how badly they've been managed.
Yeah.
Trust me, there are a group of people who have benefited immensely from this situation.
The organized chaos.
So they actually...
You see chaos, they see order.
They want it to continue.
And not just Thor, I'm just saying that there are people who benefit from the chaos.
So not everybody means well.
No way.
So when you come as let's assume you're the president, you are saying you are prepared to, number one, lose the next election because there are institutions that will fight you with all they have.
Yes.
So you know that it's almost like you're sacrificing yourself for the change.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I agree with that.
Wow.
I made that point here before.
But that's very serious. That's very serious.
Because even your party will go against you.
They will not be afraid of you.
No, they won't.
Your own people?
Oh yeah, they will rise up against you and say, we are thinking of the next election. Because, you see, anytime they come, they are thinking of 8 years.
You mean your people will whip you into line?
Yeah, and possibly breaking the age. That's what they think about.
Can I whip you into line? No, I want to hold on.
So long as we have marketed politics as a more lucrative avenue for money making than manufacturing in this country, we are going nowhere. We can pray and fast and dance and jubilate. We are going nowhere if politics promises more money into pockets of the individuals who take part, more than manufacturing, production will do.
These are very serious things.
You can't grow a country that way. We cannot grow this country because, look, check the big political parties. The people, when you talk to them, they are, when we come into power, me too, I'll get money.
I'll get some.
So, and I'm asking, where is the money sitting that when you come, you will get it?
So they create new schemes to siphon more. Because they think it's a cow
like
to be milked.
Slow puncture. It's something that's been coming into the system and now is gone beyond a redemption. That Charlie, the Ghana problems.
It's a serious matter. Let's read some comments.
It's a huge matter.
I like the angle on the leader knowing that if he's going to bring transformation, it will come at a cost. Yeah. It will come at a cost because it then means that in our job, when they come to us, we have to ask them whether they've counted that cost. Yeah. So when they sell transformation to us, we have to point to them the obvious, what he's saying, that look, there are so many vested interests who actually want you to do the wrong thing.
You just mentioned Henry Quartey. You just mentioned.
Yep.
Look at what he's going through for trying
Charlie, I think pay me
to make a difference.
And they pay me.
Look at what he's going through for trying to make a some. Look, as we speak now, there are politicians who are saying, "Oh, you don't even know what you are talking about."
So they even want him to.
But you know, you sitting in your corner, you know what you are talking about.
Charlie, even say you are punching people.
Modern Sammy. Modern say.
But so you know, one of the things I said during my Henry Cote discussion was why civil society, media, and those who claim that they want the right thing that didn't come and support him. Because on the basis of what you are saying about transformational leadership being a lonely road and a risky job, and the fact that your own people will go against you, we, the people who claim that we want things to improve, we, the civil society who keep saying that we want good leadership, how come when somebody rises to start doing something, to champion what we want, we don't support the person? I always get baffled by that. You know that if somebody starts doing what Henry Cote is doing, he will face resistance from his party. Where is the media coalition to say we support the approach of Henry Cote in instilling discipline? Where's the civil society groups who come out and say, don't touch? Do you understand? Because you need that. He needs to bring something to the table. So when they go to cabinet, they'll say, hey, by the way, the civil society people say, Charlie, if we move this guy, it will worry us. But if the guy is alone, so I keep saying that one of the reasons why things don't go well is that we, the citizens, who claim that we want the right thing to be done, when we see it being done, we assume that, oh, the guy, there's a Rambo, he can do everything on his own. But he's not.
You see, but what about the person who appointed him? How come
he's just telling you that that person, no, the people around him, they are doing many. They are doing it's like they have you know, they are devious.
Like I said, I'm just asking a very innocent, because I get your point.
Yeah.
That if somebody is going on a certain path that we feel is transforming this country, we all need to support that person. But that person is coming up, like we said, a lot of very different.
Let me give you an example. A leader is only as good as the people closest to him.
Yes.
So a leader's eyes and ears are the people he surrounds himself with. So a leader can mean well, but somehow there's a certain attraction of power to evil people, in my view.
No, not just your view. That is real.
So people like power.
Like when you are nobody, nobody demand you. As soon as you start showing promise, people start entering your life and manipulating their way to get close to you. And because as a leader you are limited, you have to trust people. Look, I can't iron my shirt every day. Somebody irons my shirt. Somebody will do my tea for me. And when he's ironing my shirt, we talk. So some of the people around you may not necessarily. So one of the things the leader must do is surround themselves with people who
mean well.
Which is why when you go back to the Alabi model, you can say, in a way, you said they were Alabi boys. You use that word in a loose term.
At the time.
Yes, and I'm saying that, that could be good because it means that the people he empowered around him were people who actually understood his vision. Yes. So even though he's no longer there, the vision continues. But the truth is that when political leadership is not the same, because political leadership, you don't have the luxury. You need money to run elections, which is why we have to deal with the issue of funding. There are people who do evil things who come and give you money.
Yeah.
All right. And even
a lot of them.
And so the question is, how do you insulate the leader from these type of evil people? You have to reform the way the system is financed.
That's true.
So I was telling somebody to go and become an MP. It's not just having a good idea. Yeah. If you don't have a model to finance it, you are going to be as bad as the next one, because if somebody goes to do cocaine and comes to give you 100 million, how will you deal with these problems? You see, so if we don't deal with those foxes at the bottom of the base, again, you can be lucky. You can have a leader who emerges, who everybody thought, this guy, he's going to play. You know, some leaders are very good at hiding their intentions. So he comes in quietly and you think that Akwawe there is a loose guy. Then when he takes over the job,
that's right.
Yes, actually, this guy is wild, though. But that one, it happens by accident. It's not by design. Because the design is that the thing you feed is what you grow. Okay, so if you don't go back to the system of selection of the leader, all right, and that's why I keep on. The reason you see people like, why you guys, you say people say you don't like politics, why are you following the NDC primaries? We have to follow the primaries. Somebody who send me information about the candidate, I send it to the party people and say, hey guys, they say this is your aspirant, or your corrupt person, or you ghost. If you don't change that thing now, you become an MP. Okay, so you cannot close your eyes and say, oh, we don't like politics. No, they are going to choose MPs. So me, when people send me things, I call the general secretary, hey, they said this person, he goes steal some money, or please go and deal with it in your prime. Because if the person becomes MP, we are all screwed. So I want to just say that citizens must think differently about politics. The ultimate job is to make sure that we clean the way it is funded or financed. Because that appears to be the greatest limiting factor to good leaders. Because you cannot, in good conscience, take illicit money to rise to a position and then start fighting the system that creates that illicit money. Yeah. All right. So everything we say keep going back to the issue of selection and then the systems around the leader. But Nathan, I wanted you to do some quick messages for us before.
Yeah, we have the whole lot.
So please, Henry Cote, civil society for Henry Cote, we are waiting for you.
Even budget crap will they sit on it.
The guy.
I was somewhere when Henry Cote appeared on the television, and there was a gentleman who said, didn't kwa. And I turned and told him that, Chairman, Charlie, do you know what this
You don't know what you're talking about.
So after I just gave him one or two, he said, and I told him that you see what.
Meanwhile, he has been saying it for everywhere. So people believe that this guy.
Silly WhatsApp platforms and the discussions they sometimes have.
Because you see, it's just a reflection of the trust that people have for politics.
That's true.
Sometimes people just don't look into the thing; they just talk because they.
But that's what I'm meant to say.
They've given up. On politics.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like we woke up one day thinking that this whole new democracy thing was going to solve our problems and bring transformation. And year after year, we see bouts of disappointment and getting into some levels of degeneration in some parts, So people who used to look forward to the news at 7 they don't even want to know. That's the point I'm making.
I had a conversation with a very respected person in society yesterday about something like that. The person was telling me that she has checked out of the system.
Oh.
Like she doesn't want to listen to news.
Oh.
She doesn't want to listen to discussions because it is not good for her mental health.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I know.
That's right. Because Bernard, I mean, we started this model for over a decade now. And we have been trying our very best to make Ghana work. The question is, are we making it work? So people wake up and they listen to all, and they even wonder how you and I, Akoto and Nathan,
they say you are not
Charlie, whether we are actually proper up there because
it's true. They say I know people who ask me like, so how do you do it? Like every morning you are back here, and I
maybe there's a problem and we don't know.
Maybe we are mentally unstable. All right, Nathan, read a few comments for me and then I will take a break. Later on, we all need to grow our leadership potential because we all have leadership in the spaces we occupy. So we cannot demand for transformational political leadership and then be lousy leaders in our spaces. So all of us have a role to play, whether at home, whether in the space you occupy, whether in the marketplace. Whatever you do, you have to have transformative leadership results, all right? And the more transformative leadership we get at various sectors and various layers, the more we qualify the type of leader who can lead us, all right? It's very, very important. It's very, very important to focus on being transformational in what you do. Don't be a placeholder. Don't be anti-progress. Don't be an imposter. Right? Now, the fact that you send messages on the Citi Breakfast Show and you complain about Ghana's problems doesn't mean that you are a good person or doesn't mean that you are doing the right thing. The fact that I'm on air talking and interviewing, but doesn't mean I'm doing the right thing. So you don't measure my leadership because I criticize political leaders. Look at the people I work with and what they become. All right? So what I'm trying to say is that you must also walk the talk of leadership. Now, if you ask Nathan, what kind of leader is Bernard? How does he manage the space that he's controlling? It's very important that I lead in a certain way. Okay? So one of the things we try to do here is, look, I've done this show for many years. I've done it with many teams. Yet, we've been able to get an effective team to keep running and doing a good job. That is what gives me the legitimacy to come on here and demand good leadership. It's not because I have a mic. So having a mic and speaking good English is not legitimacy, right? Your legitimacy is that in the 15 years I've been on the show, I work with various teams, and we have still found a way to be relevant. You get it? And it's very important. So what I'm trying to say to people is that don't think that your citizenship ends at just criticizing people and sending text messages. You are also running something. How are you doing it? All right, you are. Some of you who are listening to me, you run a school. You are a teacher. Can you say that you are teaching in a transformative way, or simply because you've not paid your salary and you are angry and you send text message and criticize the government? absolve you from being a good leader. So don't think that you, dear, your job is to be a citizen and criticize leaders. You are also a leader. You are teaching class 5. How are you teaching them? Are you doing are your students improving because of the work you do? Now, if we don't do that, I said this, Kwame Pianim said something. He said, countries don't change because one person does good things. He says, it's a lot of people doing a lot of things repeatedly. So one of the reasons Ghana is failing is because a lot of us who sit on there criticizing people, we ourselves, we are bad leaders. We don't transform anything. We are not responsible. We are not accountable. And we are not change agents. We say we want change, but when people around us want change, you don't want to accept it. So we have to transition from the convenience of just criticizing. You need a leadership track record. And this applies to all of us. Everybody, look at 5 of us in the studio. Godfrey, the richest man, he has a job. He's in charge of the sound. This is his office. He's part of a morning show. He can also say, oh, the government's not doing well. But are you managing your music well? When you are doing your music selection, how do you do it? It's very important. Because your job is to be an effective leader. You are in charge of research. You were part of the sports desk. There's a space you manage. This guy is a lawyer. He's doing his job. If you can't show transformation in your own corner, what do you mean with transformation? Every day, media leader? No. Okay. So I want to say to listeners that thank you for your comments. The discussion doesn't end with saying, oh, Adair was good. Alabi was good. But Mahama and Anado, they are not good. Are you good? That's the question. Are you good? Can we vouch for the change you claim to make? The thing you are doing that you are being paid for. Are you transformative in that space? That's the question that has to be. And we are saying that criticism is easy. We own the track record. We just I was saying something that people shouldn't think that the job of media is just to criticize and that we sit here to criticize. And I'm saying that all of us here, we are not the most excellent people in the world, but you have proven in your space that you have a certain excellence and capacity. Mm-hmm. Even with what you do with this
the conversation.
Yes. How academic rigor, journalistic flair is a new area. It's transformative. Right? What I'm trying to say is that we have to walk the talk of leadership. We don't have to just talk it. Everybody can talk. You can go and read a book about leadership and can't be talking on the radio. All right. Now, if I've sat here for many years. If what I was doing was not doing well, you'll not be listening to me. So I'm trying to say to listeners that you have to also bring change to your space. Right? It's easy to send a text message and say something. The country is not. I've checked out. And all of this is because of the checking out thing. Right? And I'm not criticizing people who have checked out. Now, the reason you can't check out is that you feel you have a stake in the country. Okay. So I grant people the right to check out because they've contributed their quota. But the fact that Sky is still after law school, still here shouting, even though he can make millions wherever he wants to go, is because he believes that his responsibility is to his country. That's a good citizen. So don't think you are smarter than us by saying that's why you've checked out. So you have gone to sleep. No. So that who will fix the Ghana for your grandchildren? Or you think that when you check out, your grandchildren, they can easily check out? No, they can't. Because even if your children check out, their great-great-great-grandchildren will still be here. So I want to let people realize that the change they want is actually them too. You are a delegate. Somebody comes there, he wants to be MP. And then you go and take it, stand in a queue, and he gives you 100 cedis, and you vote for him. You are part of the problem. You can start a certain conversation, a whispering campaign, and say, Charlie, this year we are not voting for anybody who's giving any money. We want the right leaders because we have suffered for too long. We are in opposition. Right? You say you are in opposition, you are insulting people, yet they give you 500 cedis to go and vote. You are an imposter. Yes, you say you're a foot soldier, and then you want to win election. Then you have 3 candidates running for a constituency. You listen to all 3 of them. They are good, though. But the one who gave you more money is the one you go and vote for. Then when you finish, come and sit on there and say that the MPP government is running the system down. You are not serious. You yourself, you are not serious. You get me? So you cannot be taking money to vote for people and turn around and say you are criticizing bad leadership. No. Why don't you lead within the? So maybe you are 6 polling station executives in Ayawaso Central. Say we there, we'll listen to everybody, we won't take any money. and that we want to listen to them and decide who has the best idea for us. That's also change. But they'll take the money, do what they want, and come on and say, oh, we are not getting good leaders. Why will you get good leaders? If it's give you 100 cities to vote for him, why will you come and do what you want? Do you get me? So people shouldn't think that this thing, nation building, is about coming to just talk and criticize. If what you do is not contributing to the change, you are part of the problem. Right? And we shouldn't select leaders based on how much money they give us. No, never. Never.
Really?
That you take people who are running for MP, high office of member of parliament, only 275 people, and you wait for a whole 4 years, and somebody gives you 1,000 cedis, and you go and vote for the person to stand in parliament. Parliament is one of the most important places in the country. People should be qualified. Then you go and collect 100 cedis and vote. And then you are surprised that they go and do yeah. Why wouldn't they do yeah? They say I should stop because I have an interview coming.
Meanwhile, PRC says 18% too. So just prepare. Today.
Increase in electricity and related matters.
The commission therefore decided after extensive deliberations and analysis.
World Bank for new.
You listen to this one. To increase the average end user tariff for electricity by 18.36% across board for all customer groups. I'm just giving you the latest.
IMF.
But the increase is 30% in March.
18.36%.
0.36.
636. Enjoy.
Listen, so please, don't think I'm attacking. I'm saying that the country will not change just because you identify there's a problem and therefore you criticize. If you yourself are not leading effectively, you are part of the problem. And if you are collecting money to vote for somebody, you are part of the problem. Under no conditions you take money to vote for a person. If you are serious about change, no. Let them sweat. Let them come. No, money. Their money perish with them. Don't take their money. Don't say it's our money, we'll take it. No, they'll corrupt you. So we can't sit there and be collecting 1,000 cedis and voting for people and can't be calling my show and telling me that politicians are not born. Now, who won't born? Who did 1,000 now voting? Why would you collect 500 cedis? Why? You are a delegate. Go and choose a person for us, then they are giving 500 cedis and you go and vote for the president. You can't run and tell me that the country is not doing well. Tell him that you and your money to perish. We don't want your money. Come and do institutions that will change our life. That's citizens who want change. So this money collection thing there, I'll deal with it today. I don't have time. I'll enter it.